Welcome to episode 98 of the Brunch Ladies of Conshy Consignment. We are going to talk Swedish death cleaning. What is it all about? We have special guest, Michelle of Shop Daisy Avenue. Say hi, Michelle.
Hi.
Yeah, so what is the Brunch Ladies? We like to come, hang out, brunch, just chat about what's going on in the consignment world, what's going on in our worlds. Michelle is a fellow reseller, Shop Daisy Avenue. She always brings us like the coolest treasures and shows them off. Show them the lamps behind you.
Oh my goodness, I have a dunk.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. So she's been specializing in lamps, which for those of you that consign with me know it's not my favorite thing to do because they are difficult to ship, let's say. Yes, difficult. But you love that, right?
I love it. It's like a creative outlet.
Yeah. So if you need a lamp or are possibly looking to sell a lamp, Michelle might be your girl. All right. So this all actually started. I put up on the Facebook page, is there something you are saving for a special occasion? And I've been thinking about that a lot this week. And my mom said she has a tablecloth that is like 75 years old. She got it for her wedding, or 74 years old. Hello, good morning, Kristen. How are you? We're talking Swedish death cleaning today. So she has this tablecloth, and my nan loved tablecloths, and she's never used it. She gave it to my mom for her wedding, which is, 48, 49 years ago now. Yeah. And it's never been used. So we're going to break it out for a special occasion. But the other responses were actually interesting and not what I expected of something. Kristen, do you have anything you're saving for a special occasion? The other ones were actually things that people are using. They save a special dress for special occasions, but it's in use. My aunt had a medallion from her first communion that her daughters have used, and her granddaughter just used yesterday. So I thought that was interesting. Like, it wasn't things that people were saving and not using. It was a lot of things that people were saving and actually using for special occasions. Yeah. And I racked my brain for something that I have that I was saving. Apparently, I don't save anything.
I'm having a really hard time thinking of what I have that. But then again, we're part of this circular economy thing, so we know that when we're done with something, we can resell it.
Right.
And if it's something I have a very special diamond that was, my father had given my mother. I have a coin that's been in the family for a very long time, but they're not anything that I'm saving for an occasion,
Okay. All right.
But I don't.
All right. Yeah, Kristen says a rural squirrel. She uses everything every day as a special occasion.
My mom is a big believer in that. Like, you don't have a special butter dish because it might get broken. She always believed that it was important to teach us the value of using the things that we enjoy.
Yeah. And I'm going to throw my good friend Polly out here. So she has 3 kids that are teenagers now. And her mom would always say to her, I'm not giving you this. You can't have nice things because, they would get broken, destroyed, whatever. And Polly's very practical. So her mom was coming to visit one time, and she said, my mother is going to freak out because she was using like the good Lennox for like a toothbrush holder and all sorts of things around the house. She was using it all. And she was so like, oh my gosh, my mother is absolutely going to have a meltdown when she sees this. She's never going to give me anything good now. So I always think about that and just, yeah. And it's funny. The other weird thing is like, so when I lived in Conshohocken, the houses, it's more urban. So the houses, people live in much smaller spaces than they do out here in rural Pennsylvania and other rural areas, right? People have larger houses. But there was always like a focus on more of a focus on using what you have when we lived in those smaller houses in that more urban area. It's a little different out. It's a little different out here.
Well, it's like the purse idea, right? If you have a really small purse, then you don't carry a bunch of stuff. And if you have a really large purse, you tend to carry a lot more stuff that you
Yeah.
probably don't need.
Yeah. Your items, well, I guess it's like that adage, like your expenses always rise to meet your income, right? It's just maybe your items always rise to meet your your living situation. So, all right. So, you've heard of the gentle art of Swedish death cleaning?
Okay, I did what's, I guess, the modern equivalent of Cliff Notes. I read the article in People magazine.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right, but had like you come across it before this?
I've heard of it. I remember when
Yeah.
the book came out, and it was a really big deal, and I thought someday I'll get around to read. I
Yeah.
mean, I remember I listened to the Marie Kondo book on Audible, and I managed to get as far as my sock drawer.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I this is kind of like I want to say like a different, very different version of the same thing about like reducing, but has a to me a different way of looking at it because I've done the Marie Kondo thing. I did that with my wardrobe because I currently live with somebody who has hoarding tendencies. Uh, couldn't do it for the whole house because that would cause a major meltdown. I'm sharing too much personal stuff here, but did it for my stuff. Oh my gosh, to open up to this day, my sock drawer and my underwear drawer are so organized and by color and fold it the Marie Kondo way. It brings me such joy when I open up those drawers. I love it. Oh my
I
gosh.
can see I
Yeah.
can see why. I mean, during the time when I lived in the tiny house that I was renting before I bought the big house, I loved having, because I had just a very tiny amount of
Mhm.
stuff, and there was, everything had a place, and doing laundry and doing dishes was so easy because it made it a joy to put things away where there wasn't, you know.
Right. Yeah, when you're forced to do it. I grew up in a very, very tiny house. Um, and so, we were always had to be organized. My mother's like a super organizer. So I grew up kind of with that mindset is like you don't need extra or, everything has a place, all of that good stuff. Let's see. Kristen says my family collects a specific pressed glass pattern, had it displayed in a curio cabinet and never used it. Oh, that's a shame. What was the pattern? Her daughter's wedding, succulents in it, and worried.
That's wonderful.
Oh, grandma did love it. That is so cool. Oh my gosh, what a perfect use of that. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. Yeah. So they talk about stuff like this in the gentle art of Swedish death cleaning. Now, I haven't read the book, but I have watched the new a couple of the shows. Have you seen? It's a show now on Peacock that's Amy Poehler is the narrator of it, and they come with a psychologist and two organizers from Sweden, and they come and they kind of do like a doesn't love like a makeover, but kind of like a life makeover for these people. It's really good show.
So it's like Hoarder's Light.
No, it's not really. It's not really.
So the People review called it a cross between Marie Kondo and Queer Eye because it can be quite tearful.
Yeah, it was tearful in a beautiful way. And I've watched two of them so far, so I don't know how many there are, what the rest of them are like, but the first one was absolutely fascinating about a woman. I think she was 75 and she had all these memories around her and surrounded herself by memories. And the psychologist went through it with her, and she wasn't like out there living her life, and she was this big vibrant personality because she felt like her life was over, and by like divesting herself of these things and gifting a lot of things and selling a lot of things. She got herself back out into living, right? So she did this death cleaning, and it kind of opened her back up out into the world, and made her realize like her life isn't over. It's not in that small space she's living in.
Right.
So that was kind of fascinating. I didn't expect to see that. Yeah.
That sounds inspiring.
Yeah. And as consignment sellers or as resellers, I mean, I'm sure, we've personally done things in our life where we've had to go through estates, but we've also, I mean, I don't know how many people I've helped go through estates, after somebody has passed, and what a difficult job that is to do, because number one, you're mourning. Number two, it's just so much stuff. Like people, and they draw a comparison between the way Swedes deal with death and the way Americans deal with death, and how Swedish culture is more accepting of death, right? Like we're all gonna die. Like it's just a fact. Whether that's 50 years from now, 5 years from now, days from now, we're all going, right? And after helping people, through cleaning out an estate, and so many of my consigners, and I know a lot of you out there listening, and definitely I may have helped get through this process. It's so overwhelming and so heartbreaking that a lot of people have adopted this new thing. Like one of the nicest gifts you can give somebody, your family, is to do this, declutter your life, pass on the things that have meaning, leave notes with them, and go through this process and give your family the gift of not having to do that and go through that pain, and of cleaning out an estate, of trying to figure out what had meaning, what didn't have meaning. And it's kind of, going through that at any point in your life, so that you're not, passing that along. And that's kind of like a weird thing to accept or do, I think. I don't know. What do you think about that? I think it's a beautiful gift you can definitely give your loved ones in your family, is to take care.
I definitely think it is. And the more, because I've also helped a lot of families transition after a loss, and it's definitely nicer for everyone involved when the parents or the people, it's not always parents, sometimes it's an aunt, or have had some sort of organization of how they wanted things to go. Because when they leave us in chaos, they literally leave us in chaos, right? Because nobody knows exactly what to do with everything, and what was special and what wasn't. And
it reminds me of the Peter, is it Walsh book, It's All Too Much. And he talks a lot about when you have so much stuff, and Marie Kondo I don't remember, talk about that. When you have so much stuff, like nothing is special, right?
Right.
You don't know what those special pieces are. And when you're going through an estate, or, someone passes, you don't know what those special pieces are. And how heartbreaking is that? So everything becomes just junk. And we want those special pieces to be special. Like we don't want it to be all, what do you say? Like, I can't think of the word. Dilute it by all of the other items that are just taking up space.
Yes.
Yeah. So my mom actually has done a really good job. I think my mom might be like the original death cleaner. She has actually been doing this for years, and I'm realizing this only as I'm talking right now. Am I realizing this? She has for years, like on the kid's birthday or when they have a special birthday, she has taken a family memento, something that has a history behind it, and gifted that item with a handwritten story, like my dad's belt from the Navy. My grandfather used to sell eggs, and it had the old like metal like egg grater where they weighed it, but they all came a baby booty, but they all came with like a little story. They don't take up much space, and I think that's really really great. But they do that in the show as well, as they, there was a special blanket, and there was a note, to her loved ones, like, this was your great great grandmother's, it kept me warm for so many years, I hope you feel the love. And it was just like one special thing.
It's funny because I was actually thinking before we came on, I was thinking this morning about something that I've kept, that I have my baby sweet tears, my little Madame Alexander baby sweet tears that was given to me when I was born by, I think, a great aunt.
Mm-hmm.
And I have my friend Kathy's, who we lost last year to breast cancer, that was given to her when she was born. Then I have my daughter's, and then I have another one I acquired recently. And they all look exactly the same, and I couldn't tell you which one is which.
Okay, all
I
right.
know that presents a little problem, right? Because I should have probably, as I went along, attached little notes to them of who,
Sure.
because I know my daughter will probably want mine and Kathy's both because she was close to both of us, but I don't know
Yeah.
this random child that we adopted, what we're going to do with her.
Oh, wow, that's a tough one. I don't know. I think you might need to write to the author of the the Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning, who I don't think I said was Margarita Magnuson. Um, but yeah, that's a tough conundrum, I think. I don't know if anybody's listening. Pop in the comments, what should Michelle do with it? What is the appropriate thing to do now that she has, wait, you have four of them? You have four of them. One has no meaning. Three have meaning. All right. Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. I'm not prepared for this.
I know.
Oh my gosh. The other thing I watched this morning, and I'd never seen this YouTube channel. It was called The Heart of a Hoarder. And this woman is a hoarder. She has diagnosed, hoarding disorder, I guess it's called now. And she was talking about the art of Swedish death cleaning, and how it triggered her, and why. But this was a fascinating channel. I found it absolutely fascinating. This woman opened up her life, showed photos. She was on camera. A very lovely, like, well put together, well-spoken woman that has opened up her heart really on this YouTube channel, and has shown her, hoarding space. And I've only watched this one video where she was talking about this, but I was kind of blown away by it.
That's amazing, and how wonderful that she's open about it to share with others.
Yeah, and she has like a whole community, and they talk about and share and encourage each other. And she had areas in her life that are in her home that were like absolute hoarding areas. I guess dealing with it on the other side, I've never seen somebody be so open with it, because usually it's like there's a lot of, I guess, guilt and shame and things like that involved with it. But that was kind of cool. But so, think about, and we've had to think about this as resellers and doing estates. Some estate isn't always when someone passes. Sometimes it's somebody that's downsizing or going into care, how to move across the country, or there's all sorts of situations. I've had to deal with, I shouldn't say had to, I've had the privilege of dealing with some people that have hoarding disorder that were still with us when I did the estate. And it was a good reminder for me to see this, because this art of Swedish death cleaning is really cool, and I think a beautiful gift you can give somebody. But to be understanding of the people that we may encounter that are attached to their items, or dealing with something, or have some trauma, and like an item to them, it's good for me, because like coming from, like, I always say, I'll sell anything. Yes, including my own personal belongings. constantly. So it's really important for me not to put that on other people when I'm dealing with other people, right? Like they don't have, like, there is an attachment to that item that I don't necessarily understand, but it definitely, watching that Heart of a Horse, it made me more empathetic to that. And so while I think this is really cool, do I think it's going to trigger a lot of people? Yeah. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do.
I mean, I have that little lady that I've been working with locally that once she lives in the house where she grew up with all of her brothers and sisters. They had immigrated from Greece, and her parents um, had had a business in the lower floor of their house at one point, and but I think at one point this house was full of a lot of life and love, and the walls
Mm-hmm.
are just covered with the most amazing items, and every surface is covered with things, and it's organized. It's not piled on
Mm-hmm.
top of each other necessarily, but she wants to start. She's our age, and she's not planning on moving, but after she lost her daughter to a really debilitating disease when her daughter was 27, and it's just her now. And I realized as I was going through her house, and I kind of felt torn that I was taking these family items and buying them from her, that what she really wanted was she kept saying to me, my family had beautiful items, didn't they? And what she really wanted was the acknowledgement that she grew up in a magical home full of magical, beautiful things, and
Mm.
she wants other people to appreciate them.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly where, consignment comes into this, decluttering. It's appreciation for those
Right.
items. It's not throwing them in a dumpster. The one woman talked about how she had cancer, and she was our age, and she has terminal cancer. The thought of like a truck or a dumpster like pulling up to her house and just her stuff being thrown in was absolutely appalling to her. She wanted to sort it and make sure that people that wanted stuff would appreciate it. Yeah. And I think that's where consignment comes in, right? When we do these
Absolutely.
estates, a lot of you that have consigned with me know that, we treat your items better than we treat our own items. We want to get them into the hands that somebody is going to love and appreciate, and, has been looking for that special piece and means something to them. So I think, consignment can be a really, really great option for that. If you're not sure, you want to clean up, but you don't want to throw it into a donation bin. You don't want to throw it into a dumpster. You want somebody to appreciate it. And so I think consignment, they showed like people going to donation stores. And I think that's just a really great, great option. So, as resellers and as consignment sellers, we're very, very aware of that. And it's not, when people come to us to consign, sometimes it's about making a little extra cash. But a lot of times it's about finding those items a new home with somebody that's really going to love and appreciate them. And when I say that's the majority, is not because people want to make money. It's because they want their items to be appreciated. And I can totally understand this. And I really have a whole new appreciation for it after watching the shows on the gentle art of Swedish death cleaning, and how important that is. So I'm happy to be a part. I'm like so happy to be a part of that. I feel like a renewed interest in this. And I will say that we are super busy because I think this is catching on. But there are not enough consignment stores as far as I'm concerned. Like we are one option. We are extremely busy because everybody's doing their Swedish death cleaning right now. And but there are lots of other options. In here, and this is something I'd never heard of. I'm so curious. It was called, and I didn't get a chance to look it up, creative reuse centers.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I never knew such a thing existed. They went to one in the first episode. So can you talk a little bit about creative reuse?
So we had one in Long Beach, and it was fascinating because people could literally donate anything. I mean, it could be like, the colored electric wire, whatever, and empty spools from thread and old buttons and, wood scraps and old crafting things that they're no longer, because half of the art of crafting is acquiring crafting
Right.
merchandise that you don't ever use, right? So like they get new crafting materials, and they would do everything from workshops on repairing your own sewing machine to um, kids workshops, teaching them how to build 3D assembly collage pieces and, like art. And so it was kind of a whole, not only repairing, but also recreating things.
Is there one anywhere
I
in our
wish we had
vicinity?
one here. I know, I would love to have one.
Do we need to open one?
I would think the logistics, like you'd have to have quite a big space, right? Like the
Yeah.
logistics of managing that much stuff and being able to go, okay, we're going to have a bin for this and a bin for that and a bin for that, and knowing where everything is all the time would be like bigger than any organization project that you and I quite can wrap our minds around. But
Right.
I mean, obviously it's doable because they do them.
I never even knew such a thing existed. I was totally enamored with it. I can't wait to look up and find out more. And hopefully there's one within a couple hours driving distance of us, because I
Oh, we
really
should
want to
go visit one. I'd love
it.
to. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Wow. So they were talking about like the one example they used was markers, like dried out markers, magic markers, Crayola, whatever. And they would break them open and use the fabric. They just soak it in water and they'd make watercolor paints.
Right.
What? Yeah, I'm like, I want to go to one of these centers. Actually, you know what? I probably have one. It's just not organized in my barn behind my house. I have a creative reuse center. I'm just not reusing any of it right at the moment.
Right. There's a fascinating different version of it in New York City that's called like the Center for Industrial something or another reuse, and they get a lot of sewing scraps and jewelry making, leftovers and findings and offcuts, and then it goes through every industry. So the garment industry, the jewelry industry, but then also the television industry. So they actually handled the resale of all of the hard goods and I think a lot of the clothing from the Mrs. Maisel series when they finally decided to purge that warehouse, and the money went back into you have to apply to everything's free, but you have to apply to shop there, and they only really take artists. And yes, there's a few artists that do some reselling, so they do come out with some nifty stuff. But it's a really neat program too that supports, people in their art in New York City.
Wow. The closest I know about that is on the Seller Community podcast. They interviewed somebody, I think it was in Colorado, that has like like a sustainable, like reuse fashion, and use scraps or bolts, or I don't know. I have to listen to it again. It was really fascinating. It was in like this incubator program, I think, and it was really. I'm going down a whole rabbit hole here. You're not guys aren't going to see me for like weeks because I'm so fascinated with this. I have to find one. I had to visit one. Yeah. Wow. All right, Michelle, we're on it. Wow. All right,
We're gonna go visit one. We'll go find one.
All right, cool.
It'd be really nice if it was next to the ocean and they had a restaurant that serves seafood nearby. And a beach with umbrella drinks.
Here, I'm putting something in here. Let's see. See if you can pronounce it. You're so good at stuff like that. All right, so the art of Swedish Death Cleaning. Dosh Dodning.
Stadning. Yeah.
Stadning.
I think I don't know. I'm probably going to get torn apart for this because I think that the umlaut, it's an umlaut. Oh, deep
Yep,
for
the
me.
umlaut. All right, if you're listening on podcast, I have up on the screen the Dodning, which means death, and standing means cleaning. So that's the Swedish term for death cleaning. So death cleaning isn't always about death. It's about it's really about life, and giving a gift to the people that what would that be called? Subs that are left when you're gone, but also about divesting yourself of extraneous things that are maybe keeping you from living your life to the fullest.
Right.
And I'm somebody that prefers to have every surface clean and likes to have like nothing around me. So I get that. Like, I want everything clean. My brain functions better. But also there are people that like to have all stuff around them, and it makes them feel comfortable and busy, and that's the way they operate. So it works for both of those types of people and everybody in between. It doesn't necessarily mean like it's different than minimalism and having different, totally clean surfaces and just only having what you exactly need. It's not that. It's really not that at all. Yeah. So
I mean, I think that there's something to be. I think we're kind of at the end of late stage minimalism where people are starting to, everyone cleaned out during the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
And I think that may be why you're seeing an increase, because people had to throw stuff.
Everybody cleaned out during the pandemic. Meanwhile,
right, but they cleaned out the stuff that was trash, and then now they're kind of like living a bit freer and realizing the lightness of the glory of a lightness of a load. So they're like starting to consign stuff because they want even less stuff, but then they want to be able to curate. And I call it's maximalism, right? They like curated maximalism is where it's at in my book.
All right. There you have it. There you have it. Yeah. And there's more of a drive to buy things that are going to last. Not supporting companies that do planned obsolescence and things like that. People are becoming much more aware of, I'm going to buy a couple quality things as opposed to a lot of low quality things that, will be obsolete in a couple years. So, people always say to me, "Oh, well, you're in the consignment business. Like, you're selling things. I don't understand how that, relates to minimalism or Swedish death cleaning." Or, don't worry about us. We're fine with inventory. I think even if everybody in the world hops on this minimalist bandwagon, we still need stuff. We're fine.
I think as resellers, we tend to want less, and that, at some point we have more inventory than we do personal items.
I know that's definitely the case for me right now. And this whole talking about this has really come because I'll be moving in the next month and a half. Has come at a good time. So like, as I'm going through stuff, I'm definitely going to get rid of the few personal things I have left. No, I'm just kidding. I'm definitely going to be even more cold-hearted than I already am with my items, and just keep in mind that the more I have, the less special each item becomes, and just hang on to the really special ones. So yeah. Let's see. What does Rebecca say? Obvious it's doable because they do them. Most things have already been done in some way or another. Yep. You got it, girl. Thank you. All right. Well, do we have any final closing thoughts on? We're going to be revisiting this for sure, because once I get into the creative reuse centers and everything like that, we'll be bringing you more, maybe even a tour if we find one. Yeah. You see how I'm just roping Michelle right into this with me? If we
plans.
All right. So any closing thoughts? Anything you want to
I mean,
share?
I feel like I'm gonna go clean the vanity of because I have so many like tchotchkes on my vanity, and I don't know that I really need them there. And actually, if I brush my teeth in the morning and I see a clean space, who knows? Maybe tomorrow will be even better.
Wow. Oh, that's exciting.
Because I like the idea. I did read one quote from her where she said, if you're waiting for the kettle to boil, go through a drawer in your kitchen and clean out duplicate, gadgets.
Oh, all right. All right. I like that. Yeah. That's what I'm going to do that. That is what I'm going to do because I do actually still use the tea kettle. It's
Me
one of my
too.
favorite things to do. Nobody understands it, but I'm like, I like the practice of just, there's something about just having the tea kettle and boiling the water. And
okay, mine's electric. I'm not gonna lie.
oh, I'm like addicted to it. I just love it. I'll do it even on the wood stove. I'll put my kettle on the wood stove. Yeah.
I've left mine and forgotten about it too many times, so I'm required to have an electric kettle.
That makes sense. That makes sense. All right. Becky said she is definitely on the train of not supporting businesses or companies that do planned obsolescence. So that is really, really cool. And it's definitely something we should all be thinking about when we're making those, especially like large appliance purchases and things like that for our home. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This was fun. I can't wait to Swedish Death Clean.
Can we listen to Swedish death metal at the same time?
I'm going to try it. I'll let you know. I'll let you know next week if I still have my hearing intact to do this. All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.